So let's talk about Metroid Prime 4 and what I think about it. Now that I'm multiple hours into the game, I've gotten a bunch of different powers. I've experienced a lot of the stuff that people are saying are terrible, the stuff that people are saying are great, all sorts of things. And I wanted to get into just the basis of the story, presentation, and gameplay, and what I find really good about this game. Now, it's not a full or complete review because I'm not done. So once I play through most of the game, or pretty much all of the game, and I can kind of soak in all of the story and everything that the game has to offer, then I can give you guys a definitive score or what I overall think. And we'll see about that in the future. But so far, I wanted to just go over my first impressions and what I think about this game. And I have to say, just off the top, when it comes to the gameplay, before we get into the story, before we get into the presentation, which we will get into all of that, before we get into the controversy with Miles Mackenzie and the different Federation troopers and all that, this game absolutely blows the previous Metroid Prime games out of the water when it comes to the playing of the game. The controls, accessibility, options, features, quality of those things, that is just something that, in my opinion, that cannot be denied. If you look at how the games were played originally on the GameCube, in addition to the Wii, and then the Wii U via backwards compatibility, and while Metroid Prime Remastered was pretty good, this even takes it a step further beyond Metroid Prime Remastered, no pun intended, and it takes it to a whole new level when it comes to controls and how it feels to play the game. You have so many options here, it just makes playing the game itself very intuitive and very fun, and can really just suit anybody's playstyle. Let me give you guys just an example of this. This is a first-person adventure shooter type of game. You're going to be doing puzzles, you're going to be driving, you're going to be doing all sorts of stuff in this game, and you can have the option of having seamless play between a Pro Controller, gyro controls with that Pro Controller, or if you're using a split Joy-Con too, you can have dual analog controls. If you want the dual analog controls, you can move to pointer controls, or you can even do mouse controls, and it supports up to 120 FPS, and honestly, all of the different modes work really well, and you can customize it to the T when it comes to the sensitivity, when it comes to what you want to do, when it comes to everything, the shake of the HUD. This is by far the most accessible, feature option rich and heavy Nintendo first party game that I think that I've ever played, because a lot of times they skimp out when it comes to the options and playability and accessibility stuff, but Metroid Prime 4 Beyond has it all, and it blows away the other games in that sense. Now, if you're talking about the actual gameplay when it comes to the levels and everything like that, that's obviously going to be subjective, but just playing the game with the controls overall, it's not a question at all. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond definitely is really good and the best in the series by a country mile, in my opinion. But we're going to circle back around to the gameplay and what I think about it when it comes to the actual bosses and levels and combat and abilities. I wanted to get into just a little bit of the story and what I think about that with no spoilers whatsoever. So Salix is back. That's cool. I think he looks cool. He's a pretty cool character. Metroid Prime Hunters and all of that. He's back. There's a distress that's going on. You are called in from the Galactic Federation to help out. You're there. He goes through. He blasts it, hits this artifact that they found, and warps them to a whole different planet where Samus is crowned as the Chosen One. You have to find out what is happening with these people that are no longer there, the Lamorn people, and you have to get off. You have to survive and get off of this mysterious new planet or world that you are on with Viros. So it's interesting, I would just say, how they've set up this story. I think it's far more interesting than what they've done before in the past. When it comes to Metroid Prime, I think a lot of them you just kind of start out and then you go from there and you learn as you go along. But this one kind of starts like with a blast, and it takes you somewhere and it lets you think, okay, here is the weird stuff that you are going to be learning about with these people and the fate of them and what happened with scanning and with doing all different types of things. They also grant her psychic powers as well, and it gives Samus access to their advanced technology that you're going to need in order to solve puzzles and get off this place, blast enemies, and do all sorts of things. So far, so good with the story, and there's a lot of lore and backstory by scanning tablet stones, just like previous Metroid Prime games. If you know, you can scan things that will give you lore and backdrops, but this one's actually pretty good, especially with a full detailed kind of like encyclopedia of all the characters and everything that you know, even organized better than before, and it was always pretty good in Metroid Prime games. So far, I'm liking what they're doing with the story, and I think that it's definitely more interesting when it comes to some of the backstory with these people and what happened to them and their psychic super advanced technology. Okay, let's talk about the presentation before we get into the meat and potatoes with the gameplay, which I'm so excited to talk about. So, presentation with the graphics, sound, UI, and the vibes of the game. This is once again significantly better than every single other Metroid Prime game overall. It's just not a contest here. You've got options for a graphics mode in addition to a performance mode. If you're playing on the graphics mode, you're going to get 4K 60 frames per second. If you're playing on the performance mode, you are going to get 1080p 120 frames per second. If you're playing portable, you can get 1080p 60 frames per second for graphics mode, portable 720p 120 frames per second in performance mode, and it all just works super smooth. Now, depending on whether you can see that 120 FPS or not, that's going to be up to each individual person, but the fact that it truly does offer that, and where I kind of saw the most of the difference in that presentation with the graphics is the mouse mode. If you're playing the mouse mode and running it at 120 FPS, it feels a bit more fluid. I didn't see from a graphics perspective or from a movement perspective, overall just playing like with dual analog or the pointer controls, that it was so much smoother on 120 FPS, but I did feel a bit of a change when I was playing it, docked up, and I have the mouse mode 120 FPS. You can line up your shots very well and everything, but the game does offer, like I said, a host of control schemes from gyro to dual analog and fusion controls as well. So you can find something and you can tweak it to the max. But yes, the presentation blows away the other Metroid Prime games. The best we've gotten is Metroid Prime Remastered at 1080p 60 frames per second on the Nintendo Switch 1, which is really good, but not as good as 4K 60 frames per second or 1080p 120 frames per second. And of course, the portable option on there, also much better than what they are offering portable with Metroid Prime Remastered. And of course, Metroid Prime 2, Metroid Prime 3, these are GameCube and Wii games overall. We're looking at 480p 60 frames per second and just looking nowhere near as good from a graphical presentation. So that is a huge leap above what we got there when it comes to the previous games. Not that the previous games look bad, they actually look really good. Metroid Prime Remastered is a great looking game, but this just kind of takes it to the next level. If you're playing it on the Nintendo Switch 2, and I think even on the Nintendo Switch 1, it is a step above Metroid Prime Remastered. So you're going to see all sorts of little details in the graphics. You have like some of the smoke from the gun, you have the beating of the rain on the visor, you have the reflection sometimes of Samus's face. I mean, I don't know if I captured everything, but it's just really good overall. The textures and all that are great. And I will say with the graphics, the Desert Soul area, that doesn't necessarily look great. I'm guessing they wanted to make sure that it still ran at 60 frames per second on the Nintendo Switch 1, but there is some nice little details when you're going around in the sand area, desert area overall, and I do think that the bike is, once we get to the gameplay, I think that it's kind of cool when it comes to the presentation, how it looks overall and the graphical details on the bike. The sound is incredible. If you have a surround sound system or if you have a headset that's really nice, you're going to love it. It does support the 3D audio. It sounds great. You can hear all the little different things that are kind of chiming in. I had a blast, literally a blast when it comes to different stuff coming through, knowing when to turn or knowing where an enemy is teleporting, because it is a first-person adventure game. So yeah, the sound design's incredible. It sounds great if you're listening to it on the Nintendo Switch 2 itself, or if you have a surround sound system. The UI is very clean, easy to navigate, has the wireframe type of presentation with the maps. I'm not in love with that type of map style, but I do think it works for the type of game that it is, because there is verticality or depth when it comes to this type of game. But yeah, not in love with that part of the UI, but the menus and all the other stuff that shows off, like what Samus has and other things like that, the log books and all that, that's all really good in the game. And the vibes, once again, are really cool with the tints of purple, the green energy you collect when you're on the bike, just different types of things just give it a really cool Metroid Prime style vibe. And of course, the music overall is very well done. I think it's more pronounced, and I think it's even better in this game than it was in a lot of the past games with Metroid Prime, because I'm noticing the music when it comes to the Volt Forge and when it comes to other stuff like that. I'm noticing, okay, this got some sauce to it compared to what I heard before. Although there's other really good stuff, Vendrana Drifts, there's other great music in Metroid Prime history overall, but this one really hits, in my opinion, when it comes to the music. Now, the most important thing is the gameplay, and this is where people are talking about what is going on, gameplay, and also the Miles Mackenzie, the Federation troopers, and all of that. Now, I haven't gotten to the point to where I get a bunch of the other Federation troopers and all of that, but the biggest thing was the Miles Mackenzie stuff. And how does that factor in? I hear people saying that there's going to be escort missions for 25% of the game and all this stuff, and that's just not true at all. The Miles Mackenzie thing, to me, almost seems kind of a little bit overblown. Like, I get why some people would not want that, or why that might be an issue for some people overall, but to make it seem as if there's this person that's there constantly running around with you and all that, I just didn't see that in my gameplay. Maybe it changes later down the line, but I don't think so, based off of what I've seen and what I've played so far. And I know he's supposed to be like a nerd or whatever people like to say with him, but I actually find him kind of funny. And he reminded me of Joker from Mass Effect, and I love Joker in Mass Effect. So yeah, I didn't really have an issue with that at all, and it's not like he's tagging along with you 24/7 and telling you all sorts of stuff and things like that. So for me, at least, it's really a non-issue when it comes down to it, and it's kind of cool to have some type of dialogue or some type of interaction amongst the going out and adventuring by yourself, which you do a lot in this game. So for me, not an issue there with the whole controversy overall. Like I said, I understand it for other people, but it wasn't a problem. Like I said, he actually made me laugh a couple times when it comes to some stuff that he says in the game.
Did you just scan me? What does it say?
All right, let's talk about the actual gameplay though. The game is split up. You have that big soul desert. You have the different areas that you have to go to, about 5 different areas. They all have their own interconnected type of small dungeon or labyrinth style type of gameplay in there. You've got the boss battles, you've got the missiles, you've got different technology that you can get that I don't want to spoil, that if you get it, then you can go back to other areas and you can get that item or get that thing or go somewhere different. So it's pretty much Metroid Prime. If you've played the Prime games, it's that. But with the enhanced controls and gameplay and accessibility, it feels way better to play. And the level of, I would say, intensity with the shooting and what you can do, especially the psychic abilities, being able to control the different beams that you have and other abilities that you get, is really fun to use and feels great as well. HD Rumble 2 feels great to play, and I've just really been soaking in the environment, the atmosphere, and the combat of the game. As somebody who's not the biggest Metroid Prime fan out there, these control options and the accessibility that you have with it has made me like the way that they've done the combat in this game a lot. You can dash to the side, there's cool boss battles with that. Like I said, I don't want to spoil things because the game just came out. Later down the line, I'll probably talk more about some of the stuff as people actually get a chance to play the game and all of that. But I'm really enjoying, especially the boss battles in this game. I think that they're very fun. They're very Metroid Prime-ish, but I think that they're actually pretty well done with the abilities that you get having to use them at certain times. So I really enjoyed that when it comes to the boss battles so far, and just the combat in general feels smooth, feels fast, feels fun to play, and overall I can't wait till I see more of the game, more of what you get, and just more options with the combat in there. So really the only downsides for me so far, I can understand a little bit of like the desert area, yeah, just driving around, not necessarily the most fun thing to do, and sometimes enemies attack, maybe there's more stuff later, but overall that's not necessarily the best thing in the game. But outside of that, overall, like I said, I'm having a blast. I think that it's very fun, and you can get around on that motorcycle pretty much to anywhere as quick as possible. You can just drive across there. It's not like it takes forever to get across. And I'll be honest, I really like motorcycles. I want one, but my family won't let me get one because they're dangerous. So I can just drive them and live vicariously through Samus in this here. There's definitely some downsides that I've played so far that I talked about here, but there's so many positive things with this game that I'm really enjoying overall, and I can't wait to see more of the game. But of course, I'll give you guys my final verdict, and of course, more issues if anything else pops up later down the line. But so far, so good overall when it comes to Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. So what do you guys think when it comes to the game? Have you played it yet? Planning on picking it up? Gonna skip, get something else? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos as soon as they drop. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.